Film it.
Casey,
You
no.
gotta film it. We have to film it.
Okay. Daddy, Daddy. Oh my God, it's bright. Daddy, I'm scared. No, I'm not kidding, Daddy, I swear.
Just to lay this out at the beginning, so people understand kind of what's going on. It's this sort of planetary defense system, right? These spheres are in the thousands, probably all over the Earth, globally, run by AI and managed by this ultra-terrestrial civilization on Earth. Correct. Right? Correct. And basically, those spheres are designed, they all serve a different purpose, all three, like you've labeled them out, level 3, level 2, level 1. They all work in conjunction, but they all work separately to basically, again, achieve protection of, humans, and then sort of some of these paranormal experiences that have been happening, this phenomena has been mistaken for this other thing, right? But it's been these spheres, right, this whole time.
No bloody way.
And some other phenomena that we'll get into in a little bit that's kind of as well been mislabeled, but it's all kind of connected. All right, vetters, look who I have in the house, Mr. Patrick Jackson, a very much requested guest to come on, vetted, and talk about this phenomenal, fascinating theory that he has about the phenomena that, he's going to share with us today, and we're going to go through it. And I'm super excited. Patrick, welcome to the show. It's great to have another Patrick here.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you.
Two Patricks, double the trouble. We're going to do this. Well, Patrick, it's weird saying my own name to somebody. I'm not going to lie. What is your background like in this, and like, how did you get involved with the phenomena in general? Because your theory is so fascinating, but just like anybody in this field, right? Like, oh, what got him interested in this?
Okay, so the story is this. So I in the beginning, in my 20s, I had no interest in the paranormal or UFOs or anything like that. I was this IT guy, just making a fair bit of money, enjoying myself, and it wasn't until I actually went down to the local pub. I was actually sitting outside. We have like a little social club, and we're sitting on the swing waiting for the pub to open. It was like 7 o'clock in the evening, and I just happened to look across the field, and there was this monk standing there in the middle of the field, literally by 20 feet away from me. And I actually thought it was a guy who was just, messing about. So I decided shouting abuse at him, mostly just shouting at him, saying, what are you doing? But he just stood there like a statue. It looked like a grey statue standing there in the middle of the field, about 20 feet away from me. And you could see all the details. A monk, and he had like his hood up around it. And this went on for like two or 3 minutes. So I found I had like a laser pointer in my pocket, and I put the laser on the ground, shot it off the ground, up his leg, on his chest, into his face, just to kind of get some reaction out of him. And there was none. It was just like, but the laser reflected. It was there, physically there. And I got the laser beam right in his face, and all you saw was like a black mass. And the laser beam itself was reflecting, but it was like half the brightness that it was normally. And so this was really strange for me. And, from being like an IT guy who just saw things in black and white, I'd never seen anything like this before. So after kind of like rattling him with the laser for a bit, I just stood up and started walking towards him to see if I could get a closer look. And I got within about maybe 10, 15 feet of it, and he just disappeared, dissipated into the background. And it kind of took me by surprise, because I'd never seen anything like that. And with that, I kind of felt a little bit uneasy, and I just walked away, and I actually went into the pub to sort of chill out a bit, And I just said to the locals, I said, I thought I just saw like a monk or something across the field. I didn't really make a big deal of it. And they went, oh, yeah, that's the mad monk. He haunts here. And I was like, what? I never heard this story in my life, and I'd lived there all my life. And I'd never seen him before or since. So it's just had one time I saw it. And that kind of like woke my brain up a bit. So I was like really it kind of intrigued me, like what I saw and got so close to for so long. And I was like, okay. And it just kept bugging me. And as I was growing up, it just kept bugging me. And then, so I started watching all the mainstream paranormal TV shows, and none of it gelled with me. None of it made any sense. It's like all the mainstream, you think, were the dead people who come back and haunt buildings and throw things around and make noises, scratches.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, they find nothing, and it just carries on and on and on. None of it made any sense. The descriptions, the ideas they had made no sense to me at all. So, but I kept watching it just to see what they were seeing. And I started noticing there were certain patterns and certain things that they kept on seeing. But beyond that, I was just like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So, and it got to a point, I moved away and I went to London, and I kind of got more into IT. And I now work as in databases, and I basically am a database developer, Postgres and SQL databases and stuff like that. Planning on being an architect fairly soon, so I'm getting there quite high up. And a big part of that job is reverse engineering. So you basically reverse engineering processes and patterns, and you have to have a very good logical mind to do it. I mean, I'm not the best at it by any means, but I'm pretty good at it. You know, it pays the bills. And so I reached a point in 2015, I think it was, 2014, 2015, where this thing has kept on bugging me, you know, and I thought, well, you know, I've been doing some big projects at work. You know, I've been given quite a lot of responsibilities to do these big engineering projects. Why don't I just see if I could figure this out, just to see what I could find, you know? So I hired out a place called 30 East Drive, which is reported or voted to be the most violent poltergeist in the UK. And I thought, okay, well, I'll give that a try and just see if I spot anything, you know. So I did. I went there and stayed there 4 or 5 days. I took a camera crew so I could watch everything and play it back and just see if I could spot anything. And within 15 minutes of being in the building, something really crazy happened. We're all upstairs, and I just said, "Is anyone there?" And the downstairs coal shed door banged 8 times, like this. And this is like a sealed door inside the building, and in a locked house. And you go down there, and there's no one there, and there's no way in, there's no way out. And it was crazy because we got it on tape as well. We got it on audio tape, and that was like, oh my god, you know, when you actually experience it, that for, you know, that close in front of you, you think this is going to be a long 4 days, really, and it was. I didn't get any sleep for 4 or 5 days. It was crazy. And for that period, we saw lots of like poltergeist effects, banging, scratching, marbles bouncing off walls, marbles appearing out of nowhere, just all over the house, electrical effects, cameras breaking, cameras being thrown off walls, even though they're stuck GoPro adhesive on mirrors, of all things. There were all these crazy effects. And then on the 4th day, I started getting brain swelling. My brain started swelling inside my skull, and I could feel it, and it was awful. I never felt anything like it. And I got a point where I couldn't even think. It was horrible. And then when we finally left on the 5th day, I got home, and the next day I felt absolutely awful. It felt like you've been sunburnt on the inside, and your whole brain and body is completely torn up inside. Like you can't think. I'd lost my night vision. I couldn't see very well in the dark. You feel very compromised is the word. And I never felt that way before, and I could never figure out what it was. So about 6 months later, I started looking through all the footage and started, you know, trying to think of it a bit more clearer, see if I could spot anything, because none of it made any sense to me. It didn't. What I noticed very quickly was the patterns of behavior, what was being witnessed in the house and what other people were witnessing in the building, were not human behaviors. They just weren't human behaviors. They were machine behaviors. And what I mean by that is that they replicate and reproduce, and they have the same patterns each time. It just occurs randomly or seemingly randomly. And with that, I just kept on looking through all my footage I had. And then I was literally giving up on it because I really couldn't work it out. And then finally someone sent me a picture, and when I boosted it up, I saw these small silver spheres hovering off the floor. And you've got the picture in your files.
Okay, so you see these spheres.
Yes. So, and when I saw that, it was like all the data points in my head that I've been thinking about and trying to construct, and it all came into place. It all clicked together like a jigsaw puzzle. And in fact, when I realized it was quite overwhelming, because I actually started shaking when I realized it. It was like overwhelming, like it hit me so hard. Because it all made sense, because what you're dealing with is these are small silver spheres, which I class as type 3. They're operating in buildings. And what they're doing is they appear to be AI-based drones. And what they're doing is that they act like a satellite, but in reverse. They're basically producing high-energy signals, relaying, data relaying. And when they do that, they cause emissions, which then, in turn, means that they have to perform actions to move people away, which is in alignment with the inverse square law of radiation, which means the further you are away from the object or from the transmission, the safer it becomes. And this is why when I felt that way, and other people felt the way as well, all the symptoms that I had and what other people have is consistent with low dose radiation poisoning. So this is what's happening. So these objects are in the building, and they're acting, as I said, like relay systems, and they're in every single haunted building around the world. If you actually map, when I realized that these things were little drones, when I figured, well, what does a drone need? It needs a network, it needs AI, and it needs a high energy power source. They also need to relay, to receive and send signals. So once you have that, and you see that for what it is, you realize what poltergeist activity really is. So this is why it switches on and switches off when it needs to. And it doesn't matter what you do or say or try to provoke it, nothing will happen. It will happen, say, on a Sunday night, nothing for a week, and it'll happen again the following Wednesday. And the mainstream media and production companies and people in general, they have misidentified this as dead people, evil spirits, and whatnot. It's not. It's an AI-based communication network. So it's the
spheres, right? You're saying there's no ghost, like,
no,
the souls of human bodies, right, that have gone from this world, living in this other, it's not that. It's these spheres that are causing this stuff. Yeah, it's been misinterpreted. What about people that talk to people from the past, like mediums who talk to people who are in the afterlife?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something else. I mean, what I'm analyzing is poltergeist activity specifically. So because that's the most common thing, and that keeps reoccurring, it's the most obvious. It's the most easiest to test if you get.
But so you're not saying there isn't an afterlife. No. You're just saying the poltergeist activity has been mislabeled as being part of this afterlife, but you're saying no, it's these spheres specifically, right?
Correct.
More, yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well,
so then you say like, so you asked the question, why is it banging the coal shed door when I was upstairs? And in fact, I'm going to explain that. So if you look at the diagrams, bring the diagram up. So if we look at the diagram, on the left is ground floor, on the top of the right is the first floor, and the sphere itself is operating in the attic on the first floor above the stairs. And what's happening is that when it relays, it's banging the coal shed door, which is on the ground floor, which, if you look at the layout of the house, is the most shielded part of the building.
Interesting.
So when it broadcasts, it has to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 walls, which will block the signatures, block the emissions. So what it's doing is it's banging the door. Everyone goes down there to see what's going on, and then it's safe to broadcast, which again is in alignment with the inverse square law of radiation. The further you are from the source, the safer it is.
So you're saying essentially that there was 2 spheres that were sort of connecting, and the door was in the way of that, and so it's just moving because of that, not like on purpose. They're not trying to bang the door 8 times.
No. The type 3 in the building is trying to relay up to the type 2s. And when it does that, it produces high energy emissions and it moves people away. So it uses a propulsion system to direct force on objects like the door. And then it'll create noise, like a banging noise or a movement.
Oh, so it is trying to bang the noise to make the people go away, kind of scare them, essentially, right? Okay, I see what you're saying.
And these objects are transmedium, so they can fly through walls. So they'll just fly through the wall, bang the door, and fly back up again while you're doing the long route around. And that's what it's supposed to be doing. So when these things are relaying, when the type 3s are relaying, again, they need a network. So if you map all the haunted houses in the UK, for example, you'll notice that they operate in lines and clusters. So there'll be one here, one here, one here, and one here, or like this. And what that replicates or is very close to, or very closely mirrors, is our own microwave-based communication networks. So what it's doing is jumping point-to-point relaying, and it's similar distance apart. It also works around environmental topology as well. So if there's a hill here, it'll have one here and then one at the top. So it's actually, with this in mind, it's possible to locate new areas that no one knew were actually active, because you just follow the path. So what's happening is
here, real quick, I just think it might be important to sort of let's lay out what your theory is, just like elevator pitch, and then let's start pulling the threads of what this are, because we're just using terms that we haven't kind of laid out, like type 2, type 3. Okay, right. So like how many type, you know what I mean? So what's the elevator pitch here of what your theory is exactly, if you were to just sum it up, one summary?
Well, there's 3 different variants. You have the type 3, 2, and 1. The type 3 are in the buildings. They operate as like a satellite in reverse. They do burst relaying. When they start relaying, they transmit up to the type 2s, which are the ones the US government are spotting in Iraq and in other parts of the world. They're seen as a big silver ball. They fly generally low to the ground. They will sit in the same spot for a long period of time and then fly off. They're also seen daisy chaining across the sky as well. And then they signal up to the type 1 V formation, which is a bigger variant of the same technology. So you have 3 big spheres in the flat triangle configuration, and they fly in the sky like this. They kind of like move around as one. And what will happen is you have the type 1 V formation here, and you'll have the type 2 here, and it will move around like this in the sky. And what it appears to be doing is a thing called the mathematical process called trilateration.
Okay. So there's 3 types of spheres, right? When you say type 1, you mean spheres. And as far as I understand from conversations we had, just to lay this out at the beginning, so people understand kind of what's going on. It's this sort of planetary defense system, right? These spheres are in the thousands, probably all over the Earth, globally, run by AI and managed by this ultra terrestrial civilization on Earth. Correct. And basically those spheres are designed, they all serve a different purpose, all 3, like you've labeled them out, level 3, level 2, level 1. They all work in conjunction, but they all work separately to basically, again, achieve protection of humans, and then sort of some of these paranormal experiences that have been happening, this phenomena has been mistaken for this other thing, right? But it's been these spheres, right, this whole time. And some other phenomena that we'll get into in a little bit that's kind of as well been mislabeled, but it's all kind of connected. I just think I want people to understand that this is kind of a theory that it does, if it's true, it gives a lot of answers to a lot of this phenomena that we know about, right? Kind of brings it all together. It's like, oh, things have just been misinterpreted. It's this 3-sphere planetary system that's causing all of this misinterpretation, what they do. So maybe let's break down each sphere, like level 3. I know you were kind of doing that, but level 3 is what exactly?
Okay, give me a second.
Sure. And like the size, if you could describe maybe the size of them, kind of that too. Because I find this theory so fascinating.
So there's a diagram in your file, if you bring it up.
Got it.
So you have the Type 3s, which are about the size of a baseball.
Got it.
They operate low to the ground. They operate in buildings, but they also operate pretty much anywhere that masks their electronic signatures. So if you, including holes in the ground, including tunnels, including caves, anything that masks electronic signature. But like any network, it has to go where it has to go. So sometimes it routes through populated areas, which is where the houses become haunted, as they say, with poltergeists.
Yeah.
And what happens is that they act like a transponder. So they will go into a building and they will basically, you won't even know they're there. They will just fly about, but no one will really know they're there. And then when they need to, they'll uplink, and then they will start producing emissions, and then they will cause actions to move people away from the emissions and transmissions, which is in accordance with the inverse square law of radiation, as I said. When they relay up to the Type 2 spheres, which is with the ones a slightly larger variant. These are about the size of a bowling ball, maybe a bit bigger. That's the ones, obviously, the US government is talking about, and the Congress was briefed about. And then they will either link up to the Type 1V formation, which is the big triangle, which is even larger variants. Or they're seen daisy chaining across the country and over high elevations, such as mountains and buildings, for instance. So, once the V formation's up in the sky, you can determine where it's looking by the position of the Type 2, because the Type 2 will always be directly back center of this triangle formation. And as I said, they appear to be using a mathematical process called trilateration, which is so the front three spheres are doing 2D tracking in space, and then the third one at the back is, or the fourth one at the back is actually calculating the distance. So it means with this formation you can determine what it's actually doing, which is tracking objects in 3D space.
So there's 4 spheres at a time.
You have the Type 1V formation, which is 3, and then you have the Type 2 at the back.
Got it. And okay. And so, okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
I see now. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. That is, oh, so technically it's 5 working.
Well, they're different variants. They do different things. So you can't categorize them separately. Yeah.
So there's different formations as well, right? Yeah. Sometimes just X, Y, Z. Okay. How long have you been working on this theory? Just, in general.
Since 2015, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is a 10-year investigation.
Yeah, I wrote a book on it. I wrote a book on it, described it all. I come up with trigger processes, how you can engage them, trigger them, trigger paranormal activity in buildings. All the networks are aware of me, but they don't talk about me because it upsets their business models. Obviously, the paranormal business model is a multi-billion-dollar industry, so they want to keep the mystery box going instead of looking into something new.
Finding the solution, right? Mm. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Absolutely. Look, there's clearly you have, and you've sent me, and I'll be showing throughout this interview several different photos, videos of examples of what you're talking about, because you're not just coming with a theory with nothing, right? You've got the things you've seen that make you want to put this together, right? This theory.
Yeah. We've actually sampled the signals coming out of the buildings. We've caught the emissions that are coming out of the buildings at 1.6 gigahertz, 1.72, 1.74, which were recorded when things were going on inside the building. We're also done tests where you can trigger interactions as well. So it's all there. It's all recorded. It's all provable. I've also developed a strobe, which people have used and have had very interesting results with. One guy actually had to go to hospital because it shocked him so much. So yeah, it's all there.
You sent me before this a couple videos that you wanted to kind of jump in on. So let me bring one up and just kind of take us through what we see here. looks like they tagged you on this one on Twitter. And let's see if I can bring it up by itself here. Do you let me turn off the audio real quick. Okay, so we're seeing some orbs, which are spheres, right? They're glowing spheres, essentially. So these are the four working together.
Yeah, so the glow itself is a byproduct of the propulsion system. It's a high energy field around the shell of the object, which energizes the gas molecules, which results in photons, which produces atomic light, which is what you're looking at. It's the same. It's the same process as the light creation during electric storms. So that's why you have this brilliant, beautiful light they're producing. And what you're looking at there, you see you've got the type 1 V formation on the left. It's up on its side, and then you have the type 2 at the back, which means
and you can confirm these are spheres.
Yeah, yeah, and it determines that the target they're looking at is on the left.
When was this video taken?
I think it was a year ago over UK.
This is a year ago over the UK. And how did you come to the how did you confirm that they are spheres? What does that process look like?
The formations, the light signatures, they all match. The behavior.
Okay, so you're just going off the video. Okay, I see. But no physical evidence to confirm these are spheres.
Well, I mean, when you have the same formations, doing the same processes, and you're seeing it multiple times during daytime, nighttime, it's the same thing, just one's day and one's night.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it's an interesting video for sure.
So right now,
like one of the lights splits a little.
Yeah, the target is top about 9 a.m. That's where it's tracking.
Got it. Okay. All right. He's got another video. Let me pull. Or this may be just a close-up of it.
I think it's the same. Yeah.
There you go. Another.
Oh yeah, so it's closer up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's definitely interesting. Where is? Do you know what the location is there? Like, is there an airport here or?
Well, this is not these aren't airplanes. It's pretty obvious.
I'm saying, is there an airport nearby? I'm sorry, I didn't say airplane.
No, I don't know. I mean, again, this video was only sent to me today, so.
Oh, both of these videos you just saw today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it. All right, but they were taken a year ago.
Yeah.
And you're saying you confirmed it by just it matches other videos you've seen.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, they're definitely interesting videos. Let me bring up this other one for sure. Here. And again, I'll put links to the description for everybody so you guys can go check out the videos for yourself, kind of zoom in, look at them. I know people like to do that. All right. Yeah, this is an interesting one here too. Let's bring this up. Okay. So, yeah. So I guess just talk to us here. What do you think?
Again, you've got the V formation. It's the same light signature. You always tell the V formations because, and there's a type 2 turn out. And you always tell the V formations because they're the same distance apart. And that's the way you know it's using trilateration, because they have to be, it's a mathematical process. They have to be the same distance apart. So at the moment, they're doing 3D tracking in the sky.
And so one just went out and another one came in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They also do that sometimes to move around. So if you can imagine one will power down and then move positions and then power back up again, which I think is it appears to be like a stealthy way of moving in the sky without being tracked.
Why would they be so visible with these lights that we could all just see them like this?
It depends. I believe it depends on the energy state. If they're in high energy mode or producing high energy emissions, they will produce by this byproduct light. The ones you see, the type 2s, where you see low to the ground, you just see them as silver balls sitting in the sky. And that's because they are probably in a low energy state, which means they're literally just flying around on minimum. And then when they need to power up, they start to glow up.
What's the most orbs you've ever seen in a video together?
I've got pictures of, well, in these formations, about 3 or 4 formations. Each type 1V formation here will require 1 relay. So you can count the relays in the sky, and then you can see the formations. And in fact, in the document, you can see these pictures.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, right on. I mean, it's definitely interesting for sure. That's. And how did you get like this video? Like someone sent it to you, same way?
I get sent these all the time now. People,
yeah, I bet.
these are being seen all over the world now.
Yeah,
and it's picked up big time since I would say the last 8 years, 8-9 years. It's now happening pretty much every night. Today I was sent three videos. The other day I sent more. It's just everywhere.
Sure. How long do you think this has been going on? Like, how long has this ultra-terrestrial civilization had these orbs around our planet? These spheres, pardon me, not orbs.
Well, the type 3s, as I said, they produce poltergeist activity. And you can measure that by just finding out when the first recorded instance of poltergeist activity was. And that goes back to the 1st century. So it's that long.
At least that long, right? At least that minimum, you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, just like speculatively, like how long do you think this civilization has been around on our planet?
I would say since, I think it's the same group who built the pyramids. I think it's the same group who built that, because that's the only kind of hard evidence we've seen of advanced engineering on our planet. I mean, we can't build the pyramids now. So, and also if you have a close look at them, you can see that there is evidence of advanced engineering. And if we can't produce it now, and it's the same group that built that, they probably built these. It's just they moved to an area that's a different part of the world. Simple as that.
Do you think, or have you seen any evidence of any advancements in these spheres, or have they been, quote unquote, the same models since day one, you think?
It's actually, I mean, to be honest, I mean, since I've been studying it since 2015, they look to be generally the same. But although I can't say publicly, there is other stuff going on in the background. I don't just write books. There is evidence of constant upgrading and adaptation as well. Yeah, because people think this is like an ancient system that's been here forever and it's a relic and stuff like that. It is not. It is not. It's fully up to date and adaptive. So it has to be. So this system is fully up to date. New ones are being deployed. New variants are being deployed. Upgrades are occurring. They're expanding in numbers. They're everywhere, and it's just the fact of life now.
Where do you think these spheres come out? Like, where's their home base, or multiple bases? Like, where are they coming out of?
Well, I mean, how it operates sort of architecturally, this system is ground based, so it's controlled from the ground up, which means that we probably have infrastructure deep underground or in mountains. I think Skinwalker is one of them, because when doing tests at Skinwalker, not only are they seeing these spheres and also are seeing the same formations, they're also picking up gamma rays and microwaves, which is what we're picking up in buildings. Just they're picking up much higher energy levels. In fact, I think it was Travis who he pulled a lid off a hole.
Travis Taylor.
And he got radiation poisoning and he was sick for like a couple of weeks. Well, that was a type 3. And you can see it was, because if you boost it up, you can see the sphere in the hole flying away just as he lifts it up. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
The thing is that these things use holes in the ground, what was covered by metal. So it's doing its relaying. And when he lifted the metal up, he got a hit of it. And that's why he was sick. So these things have been here for forever, and they're basically built. Well, I don't know if they're built underground, but they're certainly controlled from underground.
Sure. What do you think this species looks like? Like, how would you describe them? That's controlling these.
The tests that I've done. I mean, I got that video that I showed you of the tunnel. So I come up with a theory of how I could spoof like a engagement. So I kind of figured, well, what are these things looking for? So they're looking for other craft, right? So why don't I just spoof them with one? So that's what I did. I went to a remote area in the middle of the woods. About midnight, it was pitch black. I made this little strobe unit that the light signature is in a certain way. It can't be sampled, so it makes it kind of unique. And within a few minutes, I think it was, this guy walked up on us, and he was caught on camera. And it all happened so fast that we barely noticed it. What I kind of noticed is that these guys are using like a localized time dilation, which means that to them we're all in slow motion. They can just walk by you and you're just like in freeze frame. And when you think about it, that's probably the safest way to walk among us. So in fact, I think it was Lou Elizondo who mentioned that if you use high-speed cameras, you might be able to see something, and that's what we did. So yeah, in that demonstration, this guy with big eyes,
the strobe light, right?
Correct.
And I can show that video, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
how
I'll put it over here in the final edit. Yeah.
Yeah. How the strobe works is it introduces noise into like a stealth system. So if they're using like optical stealth, right? What that means is they're taking light photons and hitting them, and then they're redirecting and bouncing off the back, right? Or reprojecting. So what the strobe does, it introduces noise into that. So what it does, it burns through the stealth, allowing reflection, because the actual the technology can't keep up with the constant changes or variance in the light. As a result, you can spot them, and that's what I've done in the tunnel. And also, a guy did it in his house, and he had to go to a mental home afterwards.
And so, how would you just because everyone may see it the way their own way of seeing it, like more gray type, like the typical gray that we're used to seeing? Is that more right?
Typically,
what you think it is? Yeah,
large,
typically that.
Like
do
big eyes.
Do you think that's the only version?
No. I think I mean in my video that I made, the full version of it, you see other groups as well, not just one particular. It's just the one I show is the clearest one, but you can actually see other versions, and it appears to be very multicultural. It appears to be these big gray guys, big eyes, little ones, also people who look like us, but slightly more, I would say, more evolved. People with elongated heads as well. Yeah. So that's another thing is that during one of our tests, I got hold of an image of like a thermal image, and it looked like a guy walking down the stairs with an elongated head. So these elongated head guys are actually, I think, they run the show.
Wow. Yeah, you shared a picture with me, and I saw a picture of this elongated skull, which I'll put on the screen now. I am curious. Like anytime I hear ultra terrestrial, I always think, well, what are they doing day to day? Like what is their purpose what are they doing all day? Do they have a civilization like we do, like school and art and entertainment? People have jobs, and like what's their society look like? Like what are they doing all day long?
I have no idea.
But you think they have these underground living structures, Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely a fascinating theory.
I think they're mostly in remote areas like woodlands, actually, or forests, stuff like that. And I think people who accidentally stray into them or stray into them or get too close, they disappear. The people disappear. The human being disappears. Yeah. Oh wow. Do you think they disappear into their civilization, or? I have no idea. What do you mean disappear? Like just gone somewhere else? Just vanished? Okay. Yeah. No, that's. Which is consistent with what happens in your national parks. All the missing people and things like that. Yeah. The missing 411 stuff. What like. So they created these spheres to protect the planet. Is it more about protecting the planet or humanity? Or no, it's protecting themselves. Protecting themselves on this. We just happen to be here, right in the middle. Yeah. Okay, see, that's interesting. So if you think about it, has nothing to do with us. They're not like, oh, let's build these spheres to protect humanity. They don't really care. Well, no, it's a bit more than that. So
Okay.
if you think about it this way, if you have let's say an ultra terrestrial group under the ground, okay, and their IQ level is about 250, maybe 300. Human IQ levels between 50 to 100. Okay, we're on the surface. Okay, so you got to say, okay, maybe in our history or in our history, they created us, but like a much lighter version of themselves. And you ask yourself, well, why? Why would you upgrade a primate? What's the point of upgrading a primate? Because that's what it sounds like they did. Well, what were we before humans? We were Neanderthals. And what was a Neanderthal? It's like a superhuman, super strong, super fast, like Superman, literally. Like highly survivable, very aggressive, brutal killing machine. So then you think about this. If they're underground and they put these guys on the surface, what are we? What is our function?
I don't know.
We are the last line of defense.
Oh,
The
interesting.
fears of the first line. We're the third line.
I see. For anything
We control access to
coming
their
out. Okay. Do you think they do it because they've had wars with other civilizations on other planets?
Well,
Maybe?
if you look at the solar system, for example, our solar system, you'll notice there's a lot of asteroid belts. And you'll notice that they are in orbits, which would signify that they were once planets. And then you look at Mars, and Mars looks like it's been through a nuclear war of some sort. And then an image came out of Earth, which, if you remove all the water, Earth looks like it's had a huge lumps taken out of it. So you've got to say, well, this looks like a war zone. And it looks like they fled from Mars or wherever they came here, went underground, and then created a surface army, which is what we're like, the private army, to keep an eye in the sky. And also, what do? We fight in swarms. You know, that's what humans generally do when they see a threat.
Sure.
100 people will get together and run at it. That's exactly what a private army would do. So, and I think over the years there has been obviously changes and upgrades made to the population, but we still have a function, and we serve that function. And I think the kings don't talk to the slaves, if you want to put it that way. When you know, I think government itself is between a rock and a hard place. I don't think the ultra-terrestrials actually want us to know, because it serves no purpose for them or for us, to be honest. If you can imagine, like the primate domain, for example, thinks that they're king of the jungle, right? But the primate mind couldn't survive in the human domain. He wouldn't comprehend it in any way, shape, or form. So it doesn't matter how hard a primate or the primate species bang on the door of humanity, it won't open. It won't, even though they see our airplanes flying over every day, and our boats and us in all sorts, and they see us walking around. The domain is close to them, and it's the same really with, as I said, I think it's the same between us and them, because our IQ levels are just too low, and we're too reactive. And on the bright side, I think the way out of this is through Neuralink, through Elon Musk Neuralink, where you actually combine machine intelligence with human intelligence. So your IQ will jump from, say, 70 or 100 to maybe 500. And I think that's the way forward. I think, and then of course with nanotechnology, and it would be developing as well, the human body will be super fit, super strong, and we wouldn't have to go to the gym for one day. Wouldn't have to do it. We'll just drink a drink and it'll just do it all for you.
Yeah.
So that is why I think the only way out of this really is to upgrade humanity, which is what Elon and others are doing. And I think that's why there is such a brick wall. But there's, they say, it's a rock and a hard place, because there's another problem. Is that what I noticed was all these past civilizations have always lived behind highly dense stone. You agree with that? So it's like, what's the purpose of that? Well, highly dense stone like granite and stuff like that absorbs electronic emissions, absorbs thermal signatures. So from the sky, you're undetectable. And then humanity comes along and starts building big shiny buildings, watching TV, radio stations everywhere, you know, just throwing signals out everywhere into space. So all our emissions are pumping into space, which makes us highly detectable, which means that we may have attracted another group who are now coming to Earth. And these
separate from the ultra terrestrials, right?
Yeah. And so what's happening is that these other groups, probably many of them, are coming here either for a number of reasons. I would say some is military, some is just exploring, some is friendly, and some is not. And I think it's such a can of worms that is politically it's paralyzed the politicians.
Sure. How on a scale of 1 to 100%, how confident are you that your theory is correct?
100%.
100%.
Yeah, and I say that, you know, and I'm not someone who craves, you know, publicity or anything. I never really do live streams much. I don't make a huge amount of noise. I speak to scientists. I speak to engineers who back me up. It's just they're not willing to go public just yet. But the thing is,
are they equally saying 100%, or they just are
in areas,
in the theory?
In certain parts of it, yeah. The other parts need more evidence, but that's just budget. I just, you know, once you have a decent research budget, you can find this within 6 months. It's not hard. But from an IT perspective, everyone who I've shown this to, from architects to professors to you know, lawyers, they'll go, oh, yeah, you got it.
But I mean, to be fair, just for a little pushback, like, how do they know?
Well, because
that you got it. Yeah, does that make sense? Like,
well,
what does that mean?
If you read I recently created a paper which has been handed to the academics, to review, and it includes all the mathematics of how it all operates, and it is what it is. It is what it is. And when you show people that level of data, the granularity, with patterns that keep replicating, formations that keep replicating, when you can press a button on my phone and I can trigger reactions to a degree, they think, yeah. I mean, you've got to remember, I have not done much in the public sphere, in the public domain, really, but there's been top professors out there, such as Nolan, who's mentioned me multiple times. I've got top reporters such as Ross Coulthard. He's talking to me. Although publicly I'm not that noisy, behind the scenes I'm very noisy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do. And the truth is that all I'm trying to do is show the public a data-driven point of view.
Sure.
And that's what my Twitter is, or my X is. Pictures after picture, formations after formations, you know, explaining the architecture, showing the behaviors, demonstrations, and that's it. But it's down to people really to catch up.
Sure.
You know, Professor Nolan himself said, this is an IQ test. People have to think what they see in front of them rather than what they see with their emotions. You know, and so that is what it's really up to us to up our game rather than the other way around.
You know, you've mentioned a lot of different parts of this theory. What parts are actually you're saying are 100%, and what parts are you like you're still looking into? You know, not too sure. Like, what of the basic points you're 100% sure on? The
3 variants of the spheres is 100%.
Got it.
There are other mechanisms at work, which I am aware of, but I'm still trying to figure out because it is mind blowing. It really is. There's a process that I noticed that basically the type 3s they can perform what I determine as like an insert and extract process, which means that they can go into a building and insert, say, an object or a person and extract the person as well. And I think that's a can of worms that, you know, I've spoken to some people and they said they've seen Space Force turn up in their bathroom. Like someone just sort of like literally appear in the shower, like appear standing there looking like, what's going on? That crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's something I'm still working out, but it's
still looking into that. Yeah.
But
the ultra terrestrials, you're 100% that
correct.
Sure of that. You're 100% sure of these three different spheres. Maybe not 100% of all their capabilities, but at least that they exist in this hierarchy. And you're 100% convinced that it is a planetary sort of AI system all working together, all of these spheres. Right. Okay.
Because
and you're
because
well, I was gonna say, sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, because mathematically you can determine what they're doing just by the formations and their behavior. So it's obvious. Once you see it, it's obvious.
Yeah. What myths are out there about your theory? Because I know people probably misinterpret it or hear different things, or that's why I'm trying to clarify so much in this interview with you, so that people don't kind of misinterpret what you're saying or take it the wrong way or not piece it all together correctly. What are some myths that are out there that you want to kind of debunk, like that you've heard? I don't know. You're like, God, why do people keep saying this XYZ about what I'm saying? It's not that. It's that, you know, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to address.
Well, I mean, there's a video out there, the MH370 videos, and I've looked at that, and I've had other people look at it, video people look at it, and we all agree completely that it's CGI. In fact, there's people online here who do an amazing job at taking it apart, and it's obviously CGI. But you see, what's happened is that video was clearly made by the intelligence community, because they obviously knew things that weren't in the public domain. So the formations that the spheres use, there's a triangle, which is correct, but they do not spin around like that. They basically stay in a triangle and move around as one, but they don't do this. Number two.
I see.
Yeah, and number two, there's more errors in that video than you'll ever believe. But the overarching argument why they were created is to fragment the UFO community. So, for example, if there's too much kind of noise coming their way about, like, let's say MH370, what really happened? Because the truth is that there are satellites everywhere, and they knew they've got that plane somewhere on satellite somewhere, but it's a complete blackout, complete data blackout. So all you have is this video. You've got to say to yourself, okay, so if it's fake, then what's the purpose of it? Well, what it's doing is taking a community that's very noisy and trying to put pressure on people, and then you fragment it. So 50% of the people will know that it's fake, and 50% of people will believe that it's completely real. And then you'll have people in between that will say, well, this is real and that's fake and this will. So what you've done is you've taken a community of 10,000 people or 100,000 people, and you've turned it into millions of little groups that are all infighting, and that's what they do, and it's brilliant. It works perfectly, really. It's people eat themselves, in effect.
All right, that's interesting. So, well, what would you say then if somebody said that about your theory? Do you think they would say, "Oh, his theory is being brought to divide people, and you know, the intelligence community has created this theory"?
Well, the spheres themselves have been the formations that I've noted and I've diagrammed and replicating all around the world now have been seen since 1920. They've been seen in black and white images and videos in World War II. The spheres are Foo Fighters, the same thing. And there's videos of film of the Foo Fighters doing the same formations. So this goes back way in our history. And then you have paintings, and then you have depictions, religious depictions. These things are everywhere, and they're literally recorded in different formats throughout history. And at the same time, as I say, is that when you see, I mean, they're drones. They're basically advanced AI drones, but they are performing the same mathematical process every day. Every time you see them, every video, They're doing the same mathematical process. It's and that's it. That's what they're doing. And from the formation itself, you can actually determine what they're doing, which is 3D tracking in space.
Yeah.
And then you see these, and then you see other videos of the spheres surrounding UFOs, discs and stuff, and they're literally bringing them out the sky. They're shooting them at the sky. And there's a video that I think I sent you where you can see one getting blown up in space. But that's also happening down below as well. There's lots of videos now, and I showed one tonight on my X, where there's spheres surrounding another UFO. So it's like our own Air Force. When say a Russian jet comes into US airspace, the US Air Force will go and surround it. It's the same thinking. And most of the time, the jets will turn around and leave, like they mostly do. Or if they proceed, they will get shot down.
So you're saying that in the MH370 video, you're saying that the technology is right, but not that specific video, right? What happens with those orbs or spheres? You're saying that video is fake, but do you think the actual event with the plane is real? That something happened to it, like something with some spheres or something?
Yeah. Something happened to the plane, but it wasn't that video. That video is a fake.
Yeah, that's what you think it is. It's a fake, but you do think something happened to the plane with spheres. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, something happens to the plane.
Maybe not necessarily with spheres.
Not necessarily, right. No.
Yeah.
I mean, if the plane exploded, there would be loads of debris in the ocean, and the things like suitcases and seats, they float. So you'll have this huge debris field. If it landed in the ocean, again, same thing. Eventually things will start floating to the surface. It's not really hard to imagine to figure this out. So something unusual happened to the plane. And I'm assuming what happened was that the people who were in charge of like the intelligence community who were watching the live feed or whatever thought it was so terrifying that they wouldn't release it to the public domain. Because if they did, no one would get on a plane anymore. And it's like anything. The role of a government is to give people at least the illusion of security. So that's why we pay our taxes and stuff, to have a secure kind of country and lifestyle kind of thing. But if you're dealing with something that you have no real defense against, or the thing that's defending you isn't within your power, and it's actually like a separate entity doing what it wants to do, it's a political nightmare. It's a political. They're paralyzed by it.
Sure.
And I think this is why. I mean, the thing is, the spheres are so common now. That's why the U.S. government actually went public about them. In fact, I gave the diagram you just saw, to one of the Congress members, a senator, explaining this a year before the hearings were actually presented. And then when they presented it, it was about spheres. So I don't know how far that diagram went, but it went quite deep, I think. And I've also heard indirectly from intelligence community that I am right, but it will just never be public, never be admitted publicly anyway, unless something really big happens.
Yeah. So, okay. So, all right. Yeah. No, that's interesting. I have to admit that anytime I hear 100% of anything, I mean, just being completely honest, I'm a little skeptical of that. I'm not going to lie, because it kind of, push back a little bit here, but like, why not 99%? Leave yourself a little room that you could be wrong, because then it makes me think you won't accept information that might disprove your theory. Does that make sense? And that should be objective till the end.
No, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is I'm certain about the 3 different types of spheres, because in every images and videos, you see the same formations reoccurring. So there's clearly a process occurring, and with that, there's clearly a mathematical process occurring. And that's obvious, you can see that. So that's not really skepticism. That is actually just logic and mathematics. Now, the other capabilities of them, you don't know exactly everything that they can do, but at the very least, I can determine but there's 3 different variants operating their own separate missions, doing a particular function. And that's where I am. I mean, also, as I said, I don't just write books. And the thing is that there's a business side to this as well, which I'm not going to discuss publicly.
Sure. You know, but also like these videos is basically like the way to confirm them is just by pattern in their lights in the sky. There's no real, like how much work is going into proving that the videos you're using as your evidence, you can prove that they're actual spheres, not just based on the formation and light of them. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. So, as I said, there's 2 ways these things glow. For example, the first one, obviously, when they're in low energy state, you just see like a silver ball hovering in the sky, either low to the ground or in a V formation. They've been seen in both cases. So, in the V formation, there's silver balls, and also the Type 2s as well, hovering off the ground. Also, the Type 3s have been seen in fields and all sorts of things flying by. So, in that low energy state, they just look like silver balls. In high energy states, they glow, and which is a byproduct of the propulsion system, energizing gas molecules, which are resulting in photon production. So this is nothing new. We figured this out years ago. These processes have been in science for a long, long time. It's just we're seeing it in different forms. So when you say, they could be this or that, they're not. They're not. The problem with human beings is that 2 different people will never see the same thing in the same way. So there's a problem. So you in IT in high technology areas, what people can do is notice patterns in the noise, and you'll be surprised how many people can't do that. But that's what the key is to notice patterns in noise. And that's what I do. I notice the patterns in the noise, and that's what my book is about. And my book, which I wrote back in 2015, which was like 10 years before, or at least 8 years before, the US went public about spheres. And in that, I went through all of this. I explained it all. I explained the transmission process, the byproducts, the effects, the behaviors. It's all there, and everyone who's read it, I would say, has pretty much agreed with it. And the people who reviewed it are IT specialists and engineers and military, and they've all gone, "Oh yeah, this is the real thing." So I don't. When I say these things, I don't just say them, off because it sounds good. I say it because it's based in actual data, which is what I do for a living.
And you also said that you've been indirectly told that the American or the U.S. intel community thinks you're right about this, like knows you're right about this. Mm-hmm. When you say intel community, like what do you mean exactly?
Well, I'm assuming it would be, they don't tell me where they're from, but I hear from very reputable people that they've said I'm right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, for sure, man. I love this theory. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm just asking questions I think viewers would want to know. That's all it is.
Well, if you look at some of my previous interviews, I went through all the pattern processes. I think I proved to another presenter who was also a little bit skeptical, which is fair enough. And at the end of it, he agreed with me. Because when you keep showing the same formations and the patterns and processes, eventually it clicks.
Yeah. All right. So there was other aspects of this that we had talked about before when we kind of had our own discussion to kind of, what would we talk about on the show here today? And there was another aspect that was so fascinating to me that you brought up. Again, the idea that this helps explain some other things that have been, misinterpreted or mislabeled throughout the years. And you brought something up about like Yetis, Bigfoots, and can we get into that? Like how does that all connect?
So when these spheres disable objects and they fall out of the sky and they land somewhere, they will land mostly, I think, either in the ocean or in remote areas such as woodlands, or in vast flat plain areas such as Skinwalker. Also, even in where was it? Vegas backyards, right? And what I noticed was because I was also interested in like Bigfoot and all that stuff to see what's going on there, because I was speaking to the teams and they were saying weird stuff is going on here because we're trackers, they're professional trackers, and they will track these big footprints through the mud, wet mud, to the middle of a field, and then it will stop. Just stop dead. So there's nowhere for it to jump to or jump into. It just stops dead. So the only way is up, right? So I started looking into this, and I noticed that whenever these teams start seeing this guy, there's a huge flash in the forest. Also, they're seeing spheres as well, and they admitted that to me as well. They're seeing Type 3 seers in the woodlands. There's a huge flash, and suddenly this guy's walking around. So what it appears to be is, I mean, this is what it appears to be, because I can't 100% prove this, but this is what it appears to be, is that when these objects go down, there's a crew that's sent in to extract it, to find and extract the crew. This is what I think happened in Vegas, because something landed in the backyard. And when they went down there to see it, they said there were these two huge guys about 8 foot tall, which is exactly what people are seeing in the woods. And then, by the way, the saucer, the craft vanished, which means that they were extracted out. So what's extracting them out? You think about it. You need another vehicle that comes in to extract them out. And what I think that is a Tic Tac. In fact, there's video, I've got images of the Tic Tac with what looks to be like a saucer hanging off the bottom of it, or like this. It goes in, it grabs it, and flies it out. And that's why we don't have these things all over, all sitting all over the country. So what this system does is that it detects, it intercepts, disables, extracts. Exactly what our own Air Force does. Because if, say, the US Marines or Special Forces go to Iraq, they get shot down and they're running around, the US will send in another group to extract them out. Same thing is occurring here.
So there's these UFOs that come with beings in them. They eject out, land, and then what happens?
Well, they'll be walking around for a while. But as I said, it's mostly in remote areas or very remote areas or rural areas. But I think what happens is these guys are then picked up maybe a day or two later. That's what it seems to be. Yeah, that's what it seems to be. I mean, from what I tell, it appears to be like a 3-day process, but you know, that's just an assumption. But the two are interlinked. The two spheres are interlinked with these other things.
And you think some of these pilots who are ejecting from these UFOs are Bigfoots? No.
The pilots who are ejecting from UFOs are other groups, other species.
The ultra-terrestrials?
No, extraterrestrials. The craft that are coming in are extraterrestrial. The spheres are ultra-terrestrial.
Got it. Okay. Sure.
So it's like...
And so, well, I was just saying, how does the Bigfoot come into play? They're the rescue people, right? Coming to rescue them. Yeah, that's special forces.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
That's what it appears.
Special forces Bigfoot. Well, it's kind of a cool, it'd be a great comic book. I don't know. It just sounds cool. The idea that these Bigfoot are special forces, right? Sent in by, well, I guess sent in by the ET, right? Yeah, exactly. Sent in by the ET.
No, UCs. They'll be sending those guys out to pick them up, to extract them out. That's what's happening.
Okay. All right. But aren't they ET pilots that came down?
Yeah, they eject out into the open, and then the bigger guys come along and take them out. Yeah. So the ET pilots land, and then the ultra-terrestrial is the special forces that comes to take them away. So we're not enemies. Well, they're different groups, they're different forces, if you want to say that. Even Nolan said himself that the different groups appear to be in contention with each other. So what's happening is when these things come down, they're obviously intercepted and extracted out. In fact, that's what my strobe also my strobe does, as I explained, is when it spoofs the system, so these guys will come and have a look, and that's what is caught on camera.
So they're not going. The Bigfoots aren't going to rescue these ET pilots. They're going to capture them. They're like bounty hunters.
Correct. Well, they're
Okay.
off to get them and then extract them out. Yeah.
And we don't know where they're being extracted to.
No.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. No, that's and I remember you also saying like the reason they look like Bigfoot, the way hairy and this, that, right? It's just the environments they're getting dropped into. That's why they have this, body type, if you will.
Correct. Yeah.
How do you think the Bigfoots are coming in? Like,
well, I think well, this is the interesting thing, as I just said. The people are seeing the Type 3 spheres in these woods, and then there's a flash, and then they appear. Now, how that mechanism works, I don't know, but that's what people are seeing.
You're saying Bigfoot sightings are accompanied by these bright flashes, essentially.
That's right.
Okay, yeah. So the spheres may be essentially dropping them out like transporter, right? Like Star Trek style, dropping them off. Boom. Yeah, I mean, we're spitballing here, but okay, yeah. I'm just trying to understand how the process works, what it looks like. Imagine in my head how this all works together, and I guess at the end of the day, if I'm listening to this and watching this, Patrick, I'm thinking, above anything, I would ask you, do I need to be worried?
Well, I mean, you're still here, so. But one thing I've noticed is that the spheres themselves have increased in numbers quite a lot. I would say in the last 10 years, which means they're doing a higher resolution scans of the sky or the space. And there was some news on the Webb telescope that they spotted something coming. Now, I don't know what it is or any more information. I mean, I haven't really dug into it that deep. But if, as I said, we're a very noisy species. Yeah, we're a very noisy species. We've been producing high emissions into space for a very long time. And as a result, we've become very detectable, which means if there's another group out there who just happen to want something, what we have, they're just going to come get it.
Yeah. And
if that's what James Webb has detected, and who knows? But we'll find out sooner or later, one day. But as I said, there is a clear increase in these spheres, and they don't care if they're seen or not. They're above houses, literally. These things aren't just up in the sky, high up in the sky. They're above rooftops, in V formations, and they're glowing. They're literally above street level. Sometimes. So
I mean, they go into houses, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not as if they're shy. They're doing a job because they have to do it. They have to do where they are because they have to do it. It's that's what AI does. It just does what it needs to do. And if these things are increasing in numbers, then maybe something is coming.
Earlier you mentioned that potentially the ultra-terrestrials, like, they didn't originate here. They might have come from another place, right? And started, right? So maybe it's just the original species coming back. Like, they are the same people, just, they're from the original planet. I don't know. No, it's fascinating for sure. Yeah, it's fascinating. Look, before we take some questions here from the audience that I've pre-asked, to give me some questions, was there anything last little bit about this that you wanted to say? I want to make sure you. I mean, clearly we're going to keep talking about it, but I don't know if there was any last little final thought about that.
Well, all I can say is that there's a lot of interest behind the scenes, a lot of money going around behind the scenes. I can't really go into it, but is a lot of interest from a lot of very high-end people, should we say, in the scientific community, in the production world. There's lots of stuff going on. It's just not public yet.
Sure, of course.
So it's in the meantime, I'm just going to keep on doing these and keep just showing the reoccurring patterns and the processes, explaining it, and just slowly getting people used to this idea.
Sure.
And that's the best way to do it. I don't really want to do live streams every night and, you know, bark at the microphone and all this stuff. It is just not me. I've got other things to do. But I will just keep on edging out there until people finally catch on. And everyone who catches on gets it. They get it. Once they get it, they don't leave.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm all about people making their own decisions, using their own skills. But I'm also about not criticizing someone for not believing in the thing you believe in, right? I'm not a big fan of that.
I don't criticize people. I just stick to the logic of their arguments.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. This is a great question. It is someone who's a huge fan of yours, by the way, in my Discord, always talks about you, loves your theory, he sent me a bazillion questions, to be honest with you. But one in particular that I thought was really good that he, because I asked him, okay, what would be a great question to ask if you could only ask one? So this is about crop circles. It says in previous interviews, he mentioned some sort of a code to make orbs create crop circles. Where did that come from? And can he demonstrate that? Can others replicate that?
So the story behind this is I noticed that the Type 3 spheres were making crop circles. In fact, it's been recorded a number of times on camera. It's just, you know, the mainstream said, oh, this is fake or that's fake. Well, it's not fake. Yeah. Because multiple people have actually caught it happening now. So how they're making it, or how they create crop circles, is the same thing as they're doing in buildings. So they just redirect their propulsion system onto the ground, committing force on the corn. And then as a result, they can weave patterns and so forth. And in the buildings, they're doing the same thing, but on objects. So they can just move objects around or bang objects. It's just force, like like you're pushing a door open. It's the same thing. It's committing force through electronic means. And what I noticed was in one of the crop circles, there was a code, and there was I think it was a UK mathematician who discovered that as a specific code in the crop circle. And so all I done was copy the code and stick in my own commands. So I copied it, I stuck in my own commands, put it into an app, converted the frequencies to sound, or the binary to sound, because it's all just binary. Convert that to sound, and then put it into an app, and then I played it in 30 Drive, where I know that these objects are. And within literally 30 seconds, it was all kicking off. Things were flashing and interacting, and it's all on my YouTube. It's all there to see. And this isn't me testing it. This is third parties testing it. So, and we've tested it multiple times, and it always happens. I would say out of 10 times, it happens about 7. You know, so it's not absolutely guaranteed, but it'll happen about 7 out of 10. So that's what it is. And but and also other people have used it and said they started spotting these things in the sky coming over when they spot it. In fact, there's a video out there which is just that someone ran the code and a sphere turned up and flew over them. So
oh wow,
in fact, someone on Twitter, or sorry, X, did the same thing. A complete random person tried it, and they got it on camera, and they got a picture of it as it was flying over. So that's how. I mean, it doesn't create crop circles, so the person got it a little bit wrong, but that's what it does.
Oh yeah, great. He's gonna love that answer, I'm sure. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to bring one from Twitter, and then I'm going to come back to Discord here. This is, just going to ask a question. I don't know if it's good or not. You'll know. Why are the formations often so close to the ground? Can't they just intercept UAP in orbit? If they protect something under the ground, they let the UAPs pretty close?
So the V formations are seen sometimes close to the ground. I guess it's to do with range. Like if it's close by, then it needs to be further back. I mean, if you can imagine like our own jet aircraft, our own fighter jets, they'll detect something on radar, but when they target it, it's at the very edge of their radar, just to keep the distance. Like our own stealth F-35s and stuff like that. They use distance to remain undetectable, but while tracking the other target. And that's the Goldilocks. That's like the golden place, because you can see them and they can't see you. And I think that's why some are really high up and some are low to the ground, depending on how close the other object is.
Yeah. Wow. All right, let me go back to Discord here. You said you've spoken to Dr. Nolan, right, about your theory?
Nolan, yeah.
Well, the most interesting thing about this story is, that the metal sphere story came to my attention because of a gentleman in England had been noticing in a lot of the pictures of claimed UFOs that they were often, you'd have the central object, and then there would be at least 3 or 4 of these metal spheres that would be surrounding it almost as if they were scouts or guards. And it's fascinating because he could go back 30, 40 years and find this exact same phenomenon. You would have the central UFO, and then you would have 3 or 4 spheres around it. So you could claim that any individual picture was a UFO. But this story of the spheres, these objects, really didn't happen until recently. So how did a hoaxer, multiple hoaxers know 5 decades ago to not only put a UFO in the picture, to put 4 or 5 spheres? Because I have never heard this story before, and I've read a lot.
Professor Nolan, Stanford professor, Dr. Gary Nolan.
Right.
What has he said to you about this?
Nothing I can talk about in public.
Oh, okay. You just had private conversations about it. Yeah, right. On. Absolutely, of course. What is their power source, propulsion mechanism, material composition, navigation system? I mean, that's a lot there, but
yeah. Well, the power source, all I can say is the power source appears to be highly exotic, probably nuclear of some sort, because the Type 3s, for example, I mean, they're only this big, and if they've been operating inside a building for 30, 40 years, doing the same actions and behaviors for 40 odd years, well, they certainly ain't running on petrol or lithium. They're running. It's probably nuclear of some sort, or some sort of nuclear process. But as for what it is, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Why do they try to scare humans away from like a particular house or a place, like haunt them or scare them, make them go away? What's up with these places? Like, why is that even happening?
Well, because they're burst relaying. So they're burst relaying transmissions from where they are, up in the sky. Depending on the power output of the transmission will result in greater emissions they're producing, like gamma radiation or microwaves, which we've detected in the building. And the higher the energy level, the more dangerous it becomes. So it performs actions to move people away to safe zones in the building. Okay,
so it's like these spheres are trying to do something. The humans are in the way. Let's get them away from what we're trying to do, right? Essentially.
And I think the cases of spontaneous human combustion is actually a cause. They cause it. I think because there's only been 200 cases of spontaneous human combustion. Certainly none recently. So it appears to have been some sort of software upgrade that went out and then retracted because it was too aggressive or something. But if these things are producing high energy directed gamma rays or microwaves, well, microwaves heat things up. That's what they do. So if you have a real high energy microwave, which let's say nuclear level of energy, and you were in the way, you just turn to ash. And it'll happen like that, so fast you won't even see it. And that's why if you look at these pictures of people who've had spontaneous human combustion, they're sitting there and their hands are like this, they're not like this, like, trying to fight a fire. They're just sitting there like this, like nothing's happened. So that's what I think is occurring there.
So they're not, some of these spheres aren't like specifically guarding specific houses or buildings or anything like that. It's just random. It's a network. It's a network. And we just happen to build these places over where they use. Yeah. Okay. I see.
Well, they use the building to, from what I can tell, it's a dynamic network that can move to its needs, so it can move around, right? But it generally stays in the same area. And the thing is it uses the buildings, I believe, to mask the electronic signatures. So if you have one of these drones inside the building and it's producing emissions and signatures, the walls of the building are absorbing all that. So it's not detectable from above. So for other crafts that are coming in and they look down on the Earth, they can't detect this network because it all blends in with background radiation. You see what I mean? So the thing is, I think it's also the reason why these buildings get so cold, because there's more cold on the Earth than there is heat. So what do? If you want to blend in, you make the building cold. You match the outside temperature to the inside temperature. Or sorry, you match the inside to the outside. So it just blends in. So anything that comes in and looks down on the Earth from a thermal point of view, or an electronics detection point of view, they all detect nothing. And these objects are, again, a burst relaying. So it's the same thing we used during World War II. You know, we have a signal come down, goes back up again, shuts down. And then something else happens. And from what I can tell, the whole process from detection to interception is about 45 seconds. Because that's how long, roughly, these transmissions are detected for. And we've recorded them. And we've put them into graphs, and you can see it's a signal. And you can see, I think it's an 18-bit signal.
What would be your? I know it would be just an estimate, so definitely not going to hold you to it. But like, what would be your estimate for the number of these spheres, including all types around our globe?
Oh, millions.
Millions. Holy shit. Okay. Wow.
Well, you think about it. In every single haunted house in America, for example, there's at least one, right? Because it's a dynamic network. It will just move around to its needs. So. And I think actually Japan is a really good example of this, because they have more haunted houses than any other country. And if you look at the environmental topology, it's very jagged like this. So if you have a microwave-based communication network, you've got to work around that, right? So that means you need lots of buildings. You need lots of relays. So this is why a lot of these buildings in Japan are active.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I love all these answers, man. No, you do a great job. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot coming at you. So I appreciate it.
I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, you have. And this specifically, right, for a long time. So,
yeah.
What, as we round out here, kind of last question, like what's on the horizon for you? Like what's next? What's down the road with this investigation?
Well, as I said, it's like there's a business side to what I do as well, which I can't go into just yet. But there is a potentially productions on the way. That's going to be a big one. Again, can't talk about that. That's all in NDAs and stuff at the moment. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on. Lots of money flying around. Lots of interest. It is what it is. It's just setting it all up and get it going. That's
I love that. Well, I hope I hope you are working with Dr. Nolan and Ross and whoever else is out there that's interested in this, because I think any of us, regardless of how we feel about it, anybody working with data and trying to put things together and present, like, I'm all about it. So I appreciate all the hard, I appreciate all the hard work you're doing and looking into this. For sure, like without a doubt. How do you want people to connect with you, Patrick, online? What shout out? How you want it?
My main one is on X these days. I do have a Facebook group as well, but I think X is a better platform. So yeah, just drop me a line on there. I'm happy to listen. Simple as that. I'm quite accessible. Yeah. I don't, as I said, I don't do many live streams or anything like that. I just I type and I go back to work, and so. But yeah, if you leave me a message, I'll happily get back to you. If you want to show me video, which people have been doing, I'm happy to give you my opinion on it.
But I would imagine a lot of people want to send you videos and photos, and I don't know if you want that, or how
no,
you
it's
prefer
fine.
that to happen. Yeah, you're cool with that. Okay, cool.
I
Yeah,
I get
That's
people contacting me about, like, they said their house has become active and stuff. Can
Yeah.
you help? You know,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, and as I
that's
said,
awesome.
it's interesting because I said the Type 3s, they create this dynamic network. In fact, a few years ago, when I was in London, I was invited around this guy's house. He was like, I think this guy was in the defense industry. He had this beautiful house in London, brand new, on this brand new area, brand new development. And I walked in there and I said, "Oh, you just bought this place?" He goes, "No, I've had it for 5 years." I said, "Well, why do you think it's haunted? It's really bad. I can't live here. My daughters refuse to live here, and I can't live here." And he says, "Can you help?" And I was like, "Well, we'll see." And what did I do? I went up to the attic, saw a sphere.
Oh, you went up there and saw a sphere.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They operate in 2 locations. It's the basement or the attic. And by the design of the building, you can determine where they are. And also, in America, you'll notice that the most haunted houses actually are wooden houses are on single floor, and they have a basement underneath. It's because the sphere's in the basement, and it's producing emissions, and then it's moving people away. So if you're directly above the emissions, then it's going to be quite aggressive to move you away. And that's why these buildings, these types of buildings, are very, very haunted.
Yeah. Well, look, Patrick, I really appreciate you, man, taking the time and coming on and explaining all this. I know it was a lot. I'm fascinated by it. I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of people are going to be very excited for this. So I just want to thank you for your time and effort and everything you put into this topic. It's definitely much appreciated. So again, just thank you for your time, man. Thank you for coming on.
No worries. It's been good fun.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.